My turn.
All right, I've got this!
Okay, das heißt, wir können dann später anscheinend noch... Achso, es ist nur... Ich dachte, das sagt jetzt noch irgendwas Wieger, weil wir nicht nach Norden können. Und, yes. Oder können wir das, nachdem wir die Katzen gemacht haben, das Monster erledigen? I'm really sorry to put you guys up to this. You already helped me up more than enough yesterday. No problem, don't sweat it. This must be the kind of breaking news that press photographer dreams of being on the scene for. Still, it bothers me. How is it possible that both the Imperial and Republican bases were attacked at the same time? You think one attacked first and the other swiftly retaliated? No time to think about that. Right now we need to hurry. We need to get to Syndicate as fast as we can. Right. Whoa, don't ride too roughly. Genau. Syndicate ist da und da ist da. Doch nicht. Und da ist aber Schau.
Ja!
So. Drücken wir den falschen Knopf. Jedes Mal.
That's one of the Imperial Army's airships.
This situation is looking worse by the minute.
We need to hurry. Yeah!
Those are armored cars from the Imperial Army.
Damn, this isn't looking good.
It looks like the Imperial Army's 3rd Armored Division. It appears they're preparing for deployment. Thanks, everyone. Let me go see if I can get permission to start taking photographs. I wonder where Lieutenant General Vander could be. We need to find him so he can tell us what's going on here. I suspected he might show up. Lieutenant General, do you have some business to attend to elsewhere, sir? I thought I'd conduct another sweep of the area as a precaution. But never mind that now, you came at the perfect time. A freight train bound for Roar departs 30 minutes from now. I want you all on board the train. Finish up your field study as quickly as you can and return to the academy. What? But sir! While things ultimately depend on the actions of the Republic Army, the bottom line is that we may be mere hours away from an armored conflict with the Calvard Republic. I've already informed everyone in the settlement. Did they not relay the message to you? Be it as it may. We can't just turn tail and pretend none of this happening. Lieutenant General, have you established which side attacked first? Gaius, that's the central question here. It's still under investigation. You have my assurance that the Imperial Army did not attack. We did not make the first move, nor have we retaliated. However, our army's watchtower was destroyed and several guards lost their lives. As the officer in charge of Syndicate, I have a duty to act. So there really were fatalities. Let's presume for the sake of argument that the damage sustained by the Republican's army's base was in fact deliberate sabotage by their own forces. How bad was the damage? Several of the facilities suffered major structural damage. The losses appear to be, at minimum, equal to ours. Honestly, it estimates them to be far greater. But if they suffered even more damage than we did, it doesn't make any sense. I'm afraid we've long since passed the point where leisurely discussing our possibilities was an option. I will do all I can to avoid full-scale war, but be prepared for the possibilities of an armed conflict. And I suspect they are as well. But that just seems so wrong. If that's your opinion, Lieutenant General, will you at least allow me the chance to investigate what happened on my own? Gaius? Investigate on your own? As I'm sure you're aware, I know the Highlands like the back of my hand. And when someone attempts to threaten the peace of my homeland, I won't rest until I've unearthed the truth behind what's happening. You're serious. We'll do everything we can to help you. I think this falls within the scope of our field study too. No, wait. This is the people of Nord's problem. There's no reason for you all to stay here and risk getting caught in the crossfire. A classmate and friend is staying behind, isn't that reason enough? I'm a son of the House of Alberea. I would never disgrace the honor of my family name by fleeing in the face of danger. Besides, it seems like you people have done a lot for my grandfather. Guys, do you remember what you said to us back at Heimdall Station? The most important thing is that we all come back safe and sound. Everything else is secondary. I appears you've lost this one, Gaius. Lieutenant General, It's currently 10:05. I will permit you until 12:30 to conduct your investigation. I will do everything in my power to postpone any potential conflict at least then. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Then we haven't a moment to waste. We should begin visiting the village that was attacked. Not a good place to start.
Thank you. Really, I appreciate it more than you know.
It's no big deal, honestly. I agree with Elisa. We're classmates after all, and more than that, we're friends.
Well, this is clearly of great importance to you.
I know you want to protect your people, but that's not the only reason you're doing this, is it?
You got me. It ties back into why I accepted the Lieutenant General's recommendation and entered the Academy too. I'm sure each of you feels the same about your own homes, but I love this land with all my heart. The wind racing across the highlands, the vast mountain peaks, the clear blue of the sky, the breathtaking beauty of the rising sun, the melancholy of the sunset, the twinkling of the stars in the twilight. I love everything about this land of Nord. It's part of who I am.
Wow. I guess it hadn't sunk in how much Nord means to you.
I'm certainly attached to Ruhr, but I can't think of anyone else who would state their love for their homeland so poetically.
If you love it so much, why did you leave it behind? If you truly love Nord, if Nord is such a part of you, what is it that drove you to enroll in a military academy in a foreign land so far away?
I'm not surprised you'd find it strange. To be honest, I'm still not totally sure what compelled me to do it. Back when I was a kid, the Republican Army built a base in the Eastern Plains, and the Imperial Army responded in kind with their watchtower. It's made me more uneasy with every passing year. Years ago, a traveling priest from the Septian Church taught me all about the history of the continent. One thing that stood out to me was just how many lives have been lost during the conflicts between the major powers. Another major theme was just how profound of an impact the Orbital Revolution had on people's lives. Even the concepts of time and distance have changed so much. In effect, the Orbital Revolution shrunk the world. It made me realize a sad truth, one that kind of scares me even now, that there was no guarantee my homeland could stay at peace forever, that one day it might be drawn into outsiders' conflicts and be occupied and redistricted into oblivion.
I can't believe you were thinking about such weighty things even as a kid.
So then, you joined the Academy in order to learn more about the outside world that posed a threat to your homeland?
Yeah, something along those lines. When I realized how afraid I was, I knew I couldn't close my eyes. I wanted to do something, anything, to protect this land. As luck would have it, I met the Lieutenant General. He's the one who told me about Thor's military academy. One thing led to another, he offered me a recommendation, and before I knew it, I took him up on his offer. So there I was, green as grass, heading off to study abroad despite having no clue what life in the Empire was like. Thinking back on how it all came together, what you said is probably what I was thinking back then.
Honestly, I've yet to hear a student offer a more galvanizing reason than yours for enrolling at the academy.
I have to agree. I don't know too many people who love their home so much that they leave it behind to find a way to protect it.
It's not a sentiment I can imagine many Erebonians feeling, that's for sure. But I think I finally understand. Elisa? Just an idle thought. But having heard Gaius pour his heart out to us, there's no way we can just walk away from this. Not after the people of Nord gave us such a warm welcome and treated us like family. Indeed, I couldn't have asked for more.
Agreed. We'll get to the bottom of what's going on here and stop Ward from breaking out.
Nord may not be our home, but it's still an important neighbor. I'll do what I can to aid you.
Thanks, all of you. Really, thank you.
Destroyed. You can see shell damage everywhere. It's even worse than I'd feared. They've confirmed casualties too. I didn't think I'd ever have to see anything like this. As students at a military academy, things like this are always within the realm of possibility. Although I've hardly expected my first sight of such devastation to be the spark that ignites war with Calvard. This may be too much for students like us to handle. No, we've all been in situations that looked impossible before, haven't we? And every time we've come through, we just have to stay calm and think. I'm sure we can do something here too. You're right. True, we should focus on doing what we can. Whatever we decide to do, we need to get a better grasp of the situation. Yeah, let's find who's in charge and get the permission to start an investigation. I see. If Lieutenant General Vander has given you his permission, I see no reason to refuse. Thank you. However, I want to make it clear that armed conflict with Calvard could begin at any moment. We've got our hands full staying on guard for any potential threat from the east. I'll permit you to speak with the soldiers here, but don't get in the way of them doing their duties. Understood. Okay, let's get started. We should start by speaking with the soldiers and assessing the damage. That seems wise. And we've got all the information. The information we need, we can start piecing it together. Right, let's go. Yes. Rowan, why did you go and die on me? It's sad. He seems pretty down, can't say I don't understand how he feels though. Yeah. It was right when the shifts changed. Ron came out to relieve me and I was chatting away with him like always. That's when the first shell hit us, must have been around 3 in the morning. So it started around 3 then. Right in the middle of the night. I was on lookout, I should have noticed something was off, but it explains. The explosion completely took me by surprise. I was so sure nothing would ever happen out here that when something actually did, I was totally useless. If I did just pay it more attention, if I'd be a better soldier, Rowan might still be with us now. But your fault, none of us could have predicted that something like this would happen. You can hardly blame yourself for a lack of vigilance after being stationed in a peaceful area like this for so long. They attacked in the dead of night, knowing your guard would be down. I wonder if it really was the Republican army doing after all. We need more information before we can say for sure. No, I don't think it was them. There was something else that happened before we came on attack. We heard an explosion coming from the Republican Army's base. When we looked, we saw smoke pouring from it. What? We knew that both bases were attacked, but did both attacks really happen at around the same time? If that's so, it's unlikely that either army was responsible. Who is responsible then? We should keep this in mind as we piece the thing together. Ouroboros. I don't know. I haven't played this in a long time, and even then I only remember like half of it. How's the situation with the Republican Army? Looks like they're really hustling over there. We've confirmed the number of armored vehicles entering and exiting the area. I've heard the base got hit pretty badly too. And even from over here, it sure looks that way. The Lieutenant General said that the Republican base got hit at least as hard as the Watchtower, if not harder. Well, he believed they were responsible for that as well. They need an excuse to attack us, and that sure as hell looks like one. Do you really think it's true? That much damage seems awfully excessive. They probably just got overzealous with the explosives. Doesn't make much difference either way. If they're brazen enough to attack us, we'll blow them back across the border. Soldiers all seem to have their doubt. But without any hard evidence, we're not going to be able to convince them of anything. We should reconsider the possibility that this was a deliberate act of sabotage by Calvard's forces. This is awful. It really is. It looks like they got hit hard. And to think there was casualties. You know the Imperial Army isn't going to sit and twiddle their thumbs after suffering an attack like this. They have the image to uphold after all. Hey, looks like most of the damage is concentrated on the south side of the building. You think whoever carried out the attack could have done it from the highlands? Seems very likely. But where on the plains could they launch an attack like that from? Well, the highlands are incredibly vast. We need some kind of clue to even know where to start looking. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to find something here that will point us in the right direction. Das noch. Huh, is this? What's up, Elisa? Is there something unusual about the scrap of metal? I knew it. That's a mortar shell manufactured by the Rainford Company. Are you sure? Yeah, I've seen them before on the assembly line. There are only a couple models capable of firing this kind of shell. They would suggest that mortar used to fire was also made by the Rainford Company. But if you assume that's true, it seems much less likely that the Republic was responsible. True, but would the Republican army use a weapon made in the Empire? Doesn't make sense to me. Even if you account for deception, it seems unlikely that Calvard would go this far to conceal the involvement. Though considering the stakes, we can't entirely rule out the possibilities. So this might prove to be an important clue to solving this mystery. I think that's all the info we can gather here. I think so too. Now we need to analyze what we've learned. First, we should establish a good picture of what was happening when the attack occurred. Seems like the best plan is to start. First of all, what time the actual attack watchtower happened? 3 AM. It was 3 AM. Yes, that's what the guard told us, but it wasn't all what was going on. That's right, the Republicans' army base also came under attack. And according to the Lieutenant General, they suffered even greater damage than what happened here. I think we can safely discount the possibility that the Republican army bombed their own forces then. But there's no evidence that the Imperial Army launched an attack either. All we know is that both attacks happened and both sides took heavy damage. However, as Elisa said, we have no evidence to suggest that either side was responsible. If we accept that as fact, the most likely scenario is that the responsibility lies with another party entirely. So you think a third party is working behind the scenes to provoke both countries into starting a war? Tensions between the Empire and the Republic are always high, but compared to other areas of similar political value, the North Highlands have always been peaceful. I'm conceived of no reason either contrary with deceived to break the peace last night. I agree. If anything, it seems that the negatives would outweigh the positives for both parties. If this were Crossbow, it might be a different story, but there... Now that you mentioned it, we found something else out about the attack of Russia, didn't we? Something that seems to point to a third party's involvement. Something else odd about the attack on the watchtower. I'll bet she's referring to this. The weapon that was used. You're talking about the mortars that are used for attack, right? Exactly. It looks like all the mortars they used in the attack were an old Rainford model. And I, for one, find it pretty unlikely the Republican army is packing Erebonia-made weapons. Indeed, they have little reasons to be considering the Republic as its own major orbital tech manufacturer. Werner Company, as I recall. Yeah, the Werner Company is responsible for manufacturing most of the arms used by the Republican army. Then there's the fact that the model used there is old. The Imperial Army hasn't used this model for years. I've heard that military surplus sometimes makes its way into the black market and ends up in the hands of mercenaries. Knowing that, it seems unlikely that either army chose to use it to cover the tracks. Quite. However, there's a far more pressing question we need to answer. What do you mean? I know where you're going. We need to know where the attack was launched from in the first place. It's going to be difficult to work out, but without a vital detail, all our speculation thus far is for naught. If we intend to avoid a war, we need more than speculation, we need conclusive evidence. Agreed. But the Highlands are far too vast to just strike out searching blindly. Especially with the Lieutenant General settling rapidly approaching. Actually, we may not have to start a search blind. If Elise and guys will lend me a hand, I may be able to help. Huh? What do you have in mind? If I can factor the location of the damage together with the speed and trajectory of the mortar shells, and then take into account the Highland winds, I may be able to estimate the area from which the mortar was fired. Potentially, anyway. Are you serious? It sounds easier said than done. I'll do what I can. Are you familiar with the specific of the shell that was used? I think so. It's an old model, but I should be able to give you some rough data. That should be plenty. Anyway, let's have another look at those damaged areas and start our calculations. Please come with me, everyone. Alright. Alright, I think I've calculated the rough location. I believe the mortar was fired from the location from the south of here. Using map of a reference point, that means it was likely launched from somewhere in this area. And according to my calculations, the launch site shouldn't be too far from here. Wow, I can't believe you managed to work that out. That's far beyond the level of mathematics we can cover in class. I'll enjoy watching Magnus really sweat it out trying to best you on your next midterm. Just a little applied physics. I couldn't have done it without Elisa's and guys' help. It looked like we got a nice big piece of the puzzle right here in our hands. Sure seems like it. Let's take it off and start looking. Right. We and the others reported their findings to the soldiers in charge and asked them to wait until the center gate. Afterwards, they set out on horseback to begin their search. Alright, let's start looking for where the mortar was actually fired from. If what Emma calculated is correct, it should have been fired from a point south of the watchtower. And most likely from a point that's easy to overlook so that it's not found. Let's see if we can find anywhere that fits the description. We likely need to plan the map to help us. Or one of the culprits could still be there. Regardless, we should see what we can find. Okay. Zuerst da runter. Okay, da ist das Ding. Weil es kann, weil wir müssen innerhalb...
Ja!
Ich glaube jetzt nicht hier. Ich glaube erst nach der kleinen Cutscene, die jetzt dann kommt, müssen wir innerhalb von 2 Minuten zum nächsten Ort rennen. Was bedeutet... Ich denke mal 2 Minuten. Hey, over there. Oh, you found something? What's a rope ladder doing all the way up here? I can't believe the presence here to be a mere chance. The people have not used this area for anything that I've ever known of. It just got that much more suspicious then. Perhaps the mortar was fired from somewhere up there. It definitely seems worth a look. I'm just not sure how we're going to get up there. We can't reach the rope ladder from down there. I see no way to climb up the cliff face either itself. If you have any suggestions, that would be a fine time. I believe I have an idea. What if you were to make use of Elisa's orbital bow? Well, a bow? How? What if you were able to hit the cord that's tying the rope ladder? Perhaps the boat unroll itself allowing us to climb up? I'm glad you think I'm that good of a shot, but I really don't see it working. It was just a thought. Well, it's not like we have any better ideas. Why not give it a try? True enough, in times of this one resource we don't have much right now. Searching for some manner of tool to pull it down would cost us precious time as well. Can't really argue with that. Alright, here goes nothing. There. Wait, what? It actually worked? Yeah, you seem to have the markings of a great hunter. Seems this is a day for lucky shots. Well, I'll have to start calling her Quick Draw Lisa. Was I just imagining things? I did that arrow glow for a second. Well, now that we can reach the ladder, why don't we go have a look on top of the cliff? Yeah, let's see what's up there. Okay. There they are. There. Exactly the smoking gun we were looking for too. Well, well, an old orb of mortars, all Reinforth models too. And it looks like they've been used recently. So this is where they were hiding them. I can't see why they chose this place. Who would think to look here? They must have fled the area after firing them last night, leaving the launches where they were. But unfortunately, these alone do not furnish enough evidence to avert the war. You're right, unfortunately, if we just had a bit more evidence. Still, it's a solid step forward for our investigation. Perhaps we should return to Syndicate and let the Lieutenant General know? That sounds like a good idea. Alright, let's go report. Okay, jetzt werde ich aber... Ja. There, isn't it? It's a flying object we saw fleeing from Oryx's fort near Berea. There's no mistaking something that strange, and it looks like it's carrying something. It can't be a coincidence that they'd show up now of all times. They're heading northwest and we're going after them. Right, saddle up.
We can't let them get away!
Right. We need to overtake them.
Crap, they're fast! Just don't lose sight of them.
Did they touch down near the stone circle?
There's no escape for them now.
Ja!
Und wir haben es geschafft. I definitely saw them landing around here. I war jetzt kurz still, weil ich muss mich konzentrieren. Can someone up ahead? Really? Yeah, I'm betting it's the thing we're chasing. So Quarry is finally within reach. I think it was carrying a young girl. Well, I found out what we're leading with soon enough. Aber jetzt kommt dann noch ein Bossfight. Dann holen wir uns das Buch. Dann gehen wir zur Settlement. Und dann können wir nach Norden gehen und das Monster besiegen. Aber das machen wir dann das nächste Mal. Dann würde ich sagen, war's das für heute mit Let's Play Trails of Cold Steel. Und wir sehen uns dann. Wir machen ein bisschen früher Schluss, ist wurscht. Wir sehen uns dann das nächste Mal. Bis dann, Leute. Ciao.